Hi, I'm so glad you're back. And today we're going to be talking about faith that changes things. Or does it? So, I'm going to first read you something that I think just will put everything into perspective. There is no perfect life, no perfect job, no perfect childhood, no perfect marriage, no perfect set of people who will always do what we expect them to do. What we have is a perfect God who is able to lead us through this imperfect life with unfailing strength, incomparable wisdom, and infinite love. I found that on Pinterest and I don't remember who wrote it or where it came from. Okay, so God promises to make something good out of the storms that bring devastation to our lives. And we know that all Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." So if you're called according to God's purpose, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how hard it is, we know that all things work together for good, even if we don't understand it at the time or until our life is over and God explains it to us. We don't understand what he's doing, and we just have to trust him. And that is a very almost seemingly lightly spoken thing, because trust can be something that's so deep, or it can be a little bit more on the shallow side. It can grow as our life unfolds. So what happens when your life is stormy and your prayers bold, but yet they're not answered the way you're praying, and your child is still sick, or your marriage is still broken, or your finances are still a wreck, and for reasons that aren't because you're overspending, and your painful circumstances are still the same and unchanged, or worse yet, they got worse. So what happens when you believe really big things are going to happen, but nothing comes of it? True faith is having faith in the waiting. I think offhand of verses where it says, wait on the Lord. And one is in Psalm 27, verse 14. Faith is having faith even when you're waiting. It's having faith that changes your heart in the course of the time that you're waiting on this very serious thing you're praying for. It's faith that draws you closer to Jesus. It's true faith because it changes your perspective over the circumstances that still remain the same. It's faith that changes your shallow faith into one that is big, even when nothing changes in the circumstances. It's a deep faith. It's a deep faith in God who doesn't fix your problems, or doesn't fix them quite the way you had hoped he would, but who's there with you in the middle of it. Think about when Jesus was there in the boat on the Sea of Galilee, and the sea was just tossing with the wind and the waves were crashing, and Jesus was there. He stilled the storm. He stilled the storms of life, and he can do that in your life too. So it's a faith that holds tight to the promises, and it's being okay with everything staying the same, the situation not even changing. Maybe your circumstances haven't changed. Maybe they're exactly the same. Or maybe it took years for them to change, like they did in my life. And even though the urgency of the situation in my life isn't there anymore, the situation is still the same. The children that I prayed for are still not walking with the Lord. So even though they aren't in my home and our home is peaceful, their lives are not peaceful and they aren't walking with the Lord. So my prayer hasn't been answered fully the way I had envisioned it. But yet God is still faithful. things don't happen just because we prayed with a pure heart. In Isaiah 43:19 it says, "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." Then another verse that shows the process, how you can change in the situation that you're going through, the situation that doesn't change, but your heart changes. I have been crucified with Christ through that situation. It is no longer I who live that wants things to turn out the way I want to, but Christ who lives in me. Through that situation, I am a testimony because of it. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And that's Galatians 2:20. And some other verses that I found this morning that really speak to this situation. God is near. And that's what these verses through the psalmist, because these are from Psalm 38, what the psalmist found. Lord, all my desire is before you, and my sighing is not hidden from you. Sighing of all the prayers, the sighing prayers, the prayers that you sigh, your prayers to God, and the things that don't change. My heart pants, my strength fails. As for the light of my eyes, it also has gone from me. He's deeply affected by the things that are happening in his life. I think in his situation, they were caused, I think, by his sin. If I remember right, I don't have my Bible. I copied them out. My Bible's not right here. And so he has these enemies, people that are coming against him. Sometimes our relatives come against us. Sometimes our children don't agree with the way we raised them or the way we responded to the situation. Sometimes it's because they don't agree because they're not walking with the Lord. Other times it's because we didn't do everything right in raising them, or even right now. For in you, O Lord, I hope. So regardless of the way our personality is, or the decisions we make, the choices we make, the godly choices we make, for in you, O Lord, I hope. We don't put our hope in ourselves. We don't have the solutions, all of completely in ourselves, except through God. You will hear, O Lord, my God. He's going to hear our prayers. For I said, hear me, lest they rejoice over me, lest when my foot slips, they exalt themselves against me. So he's crying out to the Lord to help him, even when his foot slips, and his foot doesn't slip because he was doing something right. Maybe he did something wrong and made a mistake of some sort, sin or not. We can make mistakes that are just mistakes, like burning the cookies. Do not forsake me, O Lord. O my God, be not far from me. Make haste to help me, O Lord, my salvation. We're putting our trust in God, who is our salvation, because we know he is always there and he will not ever forsake you or forsake me. God is near. He's right there. He hears our sighing. He knows that we have a desire after him, and he knows that we have placed our hope in him, and he hears us, even though we are just maybe complaining to him or praying that this child would be healed, or that this child would be healed emotionally or with their attitude, or a situation that's serious in your marriage or my marriage, and he hears. Doesn't mean he changes. There's other hearts involved, and those other people may not respond to him, but he will help us and strengthen our heart through it. And I hope that encourages you today, and that you will walk with Jesus.